It's hard because one of the great targets of the cult, because it knows how the human form works, is the heart. I'm not talking about the physical heart, though they are connected. I'm talking about the heart vortex within the human energy field. The heart chakra, or wheel of light, as they call it in the East. And you know, we think of love in a certain way, being attracted to somebody or loving your kids. But actually, what I'm talking about, and I talk about this a lot in the answer, it's very different. It includes that, of course, but love in its true sense does not say, I want the best for my kids, although we do, of course we do. It says I want the best for everybody. And when you open this, it's not just love in the sense that people perceive it. It opens you to infinity. It's our connection to all that is, has been, and ever can be. And through that connection, you have insight, you have knowing. When people have intuitive knowing, where do their hands go? Look, mate, I just know, I just know. They don't say, I just know. They're saying, I'm thinking. This thinks because it doesn't know. This knows because it does know, because it's connected to that which does know. And when you open your heart, you're opening your connection to a level of awareness that allows you, first of all, to see the connections, because you're coming from that level where everything is one. Therefore, you can see the connections in the reality you're experiencing. One definition I would give for this kind of love is the absence of fear. I would call evil the absence of love. I think that's what evil is. It's the absence of love. You infuse love into evil, it's not evil anymore. It's the absence of love. And this is what this cult is. It's the absence of love. That's why it does what it does. But it's also the absence of fear. Because once you open to this insight, this self-identity, you know there's nothing to fear. Because whatever happens, whatever experiences we're having, there'll be another one along in a minute, we are always an expression, a point of attention within all that is, has been, and ever can be. And however bad the experience we're currently having, that is what we always are. All that is, has been, and ever can be. And so this does not fear. This will always do what it knows to be right, and therefore does not consider consequences for doing what it knows to be right, because it would never consider doing anything but what it knows to be right. Thus, consequences are irrelevant. This says, I'd like to do this, but what are the consequences? And you'll always find a list of consequences why you wouldn't do it. This says, I do what I know to be right. Consequences, therefore, are not even a conversation. And one of the great fears that people have, well, it's the foundation fear, I think, is the fear of the unknown, which manifests as the fear of death, and the manipulation of the fear of death. Well, actually, you are all that is, has been, and ever can be, and always will be. You're just having a brief experience. So this is without fear. It doesn't consider consequences. What I mean by that is it knows that if you cross the road in front of a truck, you're going to get damaged. But I mean consequences of what will people do or think or say about me, what will happen to me for doing what I know to be right. It doesn't even consider those consequences. I never consider them. I never consider them. Because to consider them is to consider not doing what I know to be right, not having it. And because you reach this point of connection and this point of insight, you know, and I'm not sitting cross-legged on a mountain like the bloody Buddha. Anyone can do this. It's our natural state. We're being manipulated into an unnatural state. This is what I'm describing is our natural state. When you open your heart, you know that death is nothing except a transfer of attention. That's all it is. I've got a picture in the answer, and it's of a bloke with a headset, a virtual reality headset, and he's just taking it off and looking around. And I put a caption underneath, "My God, I've just died." Because that is what death is, basically. It's taking the headset off. It's moving out of this brief experience into the expansive true self. So when you open this, all this comes to you. You know all this. And therefore, this would never be intimidated by authority seeking to impose itself upon you when you know it's not justified and it's about destroying your freedom. This is freedom. It's the freedom of knowing that the scale of who we really are. It's the freedom of connecting with all that is. This is not going to be frightened of Boris frickin' Johnson and Matt bloody Hancock, or Fauci or Gates or any of them. They're irrelevant to it in terms of what it does. I tell you, when there's a revolution of this, acquiescence will stop. This would never acquiesce to impositions on freedom. Never do it. Always does what it knows to be right. This is the revolution. This will change everything.